Good morning and welcome to Fat Cow Farm. Now this morning, or today's little objective is to finalise our water irrigation for our stock troughs. So coming from our header tank, we're running down to the front of the property. Now off this particular line, we're going to be running 5 stock troughs. So as a part of our rotational grazing, this will be sort of the central water corridor and then branching off to the stock troughs on this side of the property. And so what we've got to find is that it's all going to be gravitational, running through this way. Now the way that we're going to be setting this up is that we can then isolate the stock troughs. So as the cows and everything else come into one particular paddock, we'll then turn on that stock trough. We can let that fill and then it can be managed with a float. The one that they're leaving from, we'll just shut down so that we can then go through the motions of getting that cleaned and everything else afterwards. So depending on what's going on, and obviously depending on season as well. So what I've got here is we've put on our Kanga pipe layer or single twine ripper and pipe layer. So we're going to start making our way back down towards the front of the property now. What I'm sort of trying to achieve is just get that main irrigation line in, and where I think that the branch off will be, I'm going to put on a T, and then we can start moving that way, and I'll just leave some tails coming up, and I can put a tap or an isolating tap on that later on. So I'll get back on the tractor, I'll come and find you when I'm ready to put the T in, and I'll see you soon. So here we are, we're probably about a good 15 metres above the pipe laying from the tractor. So what I wanted to do now is then just put a junction in so that we can run a stock trough across. Now I can get, so this is our feed, our main feed, and I'll quickly put this junction in. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to leave a tail coming up so that later on I can then open this up with the shovel and then I can actually lay the pipe that I need. All right, so we've got just some leftover irrigation pipe here that I'll use. And like I said, what I'm going to do is just put a tap on those so that I can just do a water pressure test and make sure that everything's watertight before I drive back over everything. I'll have these tails in place, and then I can attach the feeds going to the stock troughs at a later date. All right, I'll get this ready, and I'll come and find you, and I'll find you soon. All right, so there we go. I've got my location tail in place, ready to rock and roll, mate. So I know that that's going to go that way. I'll keep on laying this main line, and we can go from there. So I'll come and find you from there, and I'll see you soon, mate. Alright, so here we are. I've made my run to the furthest point that I needed to go to, and so we're all ready to go. I've got the tails in place, and you can see I've got the tails sticking up, and the main line, you know, is round about that 400 mil, 350, 400 mil below now from the Kanga ripper. Now, I just wanted to stop at this particular point because as I'm coming back and running over the trench that we've laid, I've hit a wet spot. Now, check this out. So the tractor has just gone sink. Now, I can see a little bit of puddling coming through the bottom here. Now, this is obviously just a soft spot. So what we have behind us now is basically in the forest, in one of the corners that we have here at Fat Cow Farm, up near the bees. So what's happening is that the water is obviously hitting the soil, and there must be a clay pan running through, and you can see what the clay is here. And what's happened is that the pipe layer, the Kanga pipe layer and ripper, has broken that crust. And so you can see that the clay itself and the water, and it's all just turned to goop. Look at that. Yuck. So we're going to have to let this one dry out a little bit before we roll back over it. And I would imagine that's very, very similar to what we had further down towards the front of the property where we found that new spring. So just goes to show you that there is a lot of water that runs through that subterranean soil, and as soon as you break that crust, bang, it's on. So I really don't want another spring here. That's just not gonna, that would just wreck all my plans. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know what this one is. I've got a fair bit of work to do, heading back up towards the header tank now. I've got to run back over this a few more times, and we're ready to rock and roll, mate. So for all about your irrigation needs, running from your header tank, gravity fed to all your stock troughs along your main line, like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.